So maybe if you're being fully honest, you feel like you are holding on to every little sign of interest a person gives to you, despite this interest being full of actual breadcrumbs. And you may even find that you have a pattern of being hooked on or really invested in people who give you small little bits of validation over time, rather than people who are truly willing to invest in you and who are truly emotionally available for what you are looking for in a relationship. Well, there's a common reason that people often get into a cycle of basically becoming addicted to breadcrumbing. And in fact, there's three major reasons as to why this happens. And if you don't understand these three underlying factors and the steps that you need to take to do something about this once and for all, there's a good chance you are going to be constantly doomed to investing in people who are never going to meet your needs, never show up for you, and never really make an effort to be available for what it is that you're looking for. So in today's video, we are going to uncover the three major reasons that people become addicted to breadcrumbing in relationships, and most importantly, what you can actually do to put an end to this pattern once and for all. Now, if you're new here, hello and welcome. I'm excited you're here. My name is Gibson, and I am the founder of the Personal Development School, and I've been working with clients and then in our online programs in the fields of attachment styles and dating and the subconscious mind and how we heal for more than the past decade. So if you have questions, let me know down below. And if you also are enjoying this video or enjoy this channel, please subscribe, stick around. So here's the first major reason that you get addicted to breadcrumbing. And it's because there's actually the neurochemistry present of addiction, or that leads to addiction in a lot of different cases when you are being breadcrumbed. So there's a study done back in the early 2000s. And what they did with this study is they took a blood sample of individuals gambling to test their dopamine levels, dopamine being the motivation neurochemical. And what they found, interestingly enough, is when people thought about gambling, they actually had more dopamine released than when they were actually doing the gambling itself. And there's a big addictive component when it comes to gambling, and it is the fact that there is an intermittent reinforcement component. There's also another study done, and we've talked about this on this channel quite a few times, but there was a study done where researchers took rats and they put them into a little rat park and they let them go to these little food pellet machines and push the lever where food pellets would come out. And what they found is when they put the food pellets full, the rats would go and they would push the lever and eat the food pellet and go back and play in rat park, and then, eventually come back every so often and get some more food. But it was something that didn't really preoccupy their lives. Then what researchers did is they took the food pellets out, so that after the rats were accustomed to seeing the food pellets come out, they would go, they would try a few times, they would see finally that, hey, consistently, there's just no food pellets coming out. So they would move on. They would stop trying to get their food from that source. And then lastly, after the rats thought there weren't many food pellets, they reintroduced the food pellets intermittently. In other words, every third time you would pull the lever or push the lever, a food pellet would come out. Every 16th time and 28th time, there was no pattern. Everything was at random. And what they actually found is that in that particular case, the rats would give up on doing things like grooming and mating and playing in rat park, all to just hover around the food pellet machines and try to push the lever and get the food pellet to come out. And what they found in conclusion, essentially, is that intermittent reinforcement is addictive. Okay. But have you ever noticed that securely attached individuals do not get addicted to intermittent reinforcement? Have you ever noticed that? And have you ever wondered why, in fact, that is? Well, the reason being that securely attached individuals, and this is what brings me to point number 2, although there is an addictive component to intermittent reinforcement, securely attached individuals, in a sense, as funny as this analogy sounds, they already have the food pellets within themselves. Okay. And what I mean by this is when it comes to relationships, the things that individuals who are addicted to breadcrumbing and really go after it and get really swept up by that intermittent reinforcement, the things that you are actually seeking are things that you don't know how to give to yourself first, and you don't know how to communicate to other individuals so that you can have healthy, reliable sources of these things. And these things, and this is point number 2 of 3, these things are your needs. Okay. I want you to imagine for a moment that you are somebody who has never thought a kind word to yourself, never thought a kind word to yourself in your internal dialogue. You don't validate yourself. You don't encourage yourself. In fact, maybe you're quite critical of yourself overall. And then you meet somebody and they make you feel seen. They encourage you. They build you up. They validate you. And with time, unfortunately, that validation becomes intermittent. Sometimes they do it. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. If you are somebody who gives yourself 0 out of 10 validation and encouragement, but this person gives you a 3 or a 4, you're going to follow it. You're going to go after it. You're going to be like, give me the 3 or a 4. Give me the 30% or the 40% of your validation because it's better than my 0. And what often happens is individuals who go after breadcrumbs in relationships, they go for breadcrumbs because they are otherwise starving. Without any breadcrumbs, they wouldn't eat. And so, of course, you find yourself chasing people. But what it is always a sign of is if you can get really specific as to what am I chasing? What is it? Am I chasing after them because they make me feel wanted or important or seen or like I matter, or they bring me novelty or fun? And if you look within, you will always see that the things you are chasing after are things that you have a complete lack of capacity to give within yourself. And until you learn to give to yourself, you will seek after any little teeny tiny source, and you will be willing to drop your boundaries and your standards to go after those needs. Now, there's reasons for this. It's because your subconscious mind is a needs meeting machine. It's designed to do that. It's designed to go after the things that seem to give pleasure or reward. But this actually shifts and changes dramatically. And I still have a point number 3 here that will help a lot with having you not be addicted to breadcrumbs, but it will help you dramatically to sit down. And if there's a person or a pattern of individuals, of people in your past who you have chased after for breadcrumbs, I want you to get specific as to what those breadcrumbs were made up of. What needs were you actually chasing after? Was it the need to feel important? Was it the need to feel a sense of certainty or connection or depth or vulnerability or intimate? Like, you have to get really clear. And then I want you to score yourself from 1 to 10. How much are you actually meeting these needs in your own life? And what you'll see is not only are you usually struggling to meet these needs in your own life, but usually you have a history of not having healthy sources of these needs in your upbringing. I saw a client once and she chased after somebody who, when they were with her, would make her feel present for short periods of time, but otherwise was not really a part of this person's consistent life at all. But she desperately wanted to be seen. She desperately wanted somebody to see her. And when she looked back at her childhood, both of her parents were very avoidant. They just didn't make her feel seen. They weren't present. So she was willing to bend over backwards, do all these things, do backflips and all these things just to get those little moments of being seen, because we will do anything for things that we are starving for. Now, what the solution becomes to point number 2 of 3 here is that you have to be able to sit down and be like, okay, how can I learn to meet these needs in the relationship to myself? Now, I will say, if this is something you struggle with as a whole and you want to go way deeper than I can go in like a 10-minute video, I will put a link to a course fully for free that's all about your needs, learning exactly what your needs are and learning how to have healthy strategies to meet them in yourself. Some people think, oh yeah, meet your needs yourself sounds like this funny concept, but it is literally one of the most important things you will ever do if you want secure and lasting relationships. Because when you don't know how to meet your own needs, you don't know how to self-soothe, and then you'll often, again, you'll let go of your standards and you'll let go of your boundaries, all because you're willing to do anything to just get those needs met. So until we learn to stop starving, we'll always feel needy or anxious, or we'll push too hard for a relationship to move at a pace that may not be what somebody else is looking for. And we'll struggle to self-soothe, and we'll put pressure on relationships because it's like somebody dispensing your needs. It's almost like an addiction. Now, the last thing I'll say, and I'll put the link to that fully for free down below for a limited time. And the last thing is, the other reason that you'll be addicted to breadcrumbs is if you don't know who you are. And so if you are somebody who is trying to find yourself through external relationships, you will always be addicted to breadcrumbs. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you don't know what you want in the career area of your life, the things that make you happy, that light you up, that make you feel motivated, if you don't know what it is that you want to have with your own financial patterns, do you want to be a budgeter, a spender, a saver? How much do you want to save or invest your money? What does that look like for you? If you haven't gone through the multiple areas of life and really considered who you are and ask yourself questions to get to the bottom of those things, because sometimes that takes time. What's important to me? What am I looking for in these areas? What makes me happy? What makes me feel the most comfortable and safe? When do I feel like my best? Like, if you're not knowing those answers to who you are in career, who you are around money, mentally, the things you love to learn about, emotionally, how you regulate your emotions and being in touch with your emotions and attuned to what makes you feel good or bad, or who makes you feel comfortable or uncomfortable, safe or unsafe, career, financial, mental, emotional, spiritual area of life, what matters to you, physical area of life, your habits around food, sleep, resting, exercise, all these things. And then, of course, your relationships, what your standards are, your non-negotiables. If you don't know these things, then you will keep trying to fulfill this empty sense of self through other people outside of you. And it may seem like, oh, I don't want to take time away from doing that and focusing on other people to learn who I am, but it will be the one thing that will give you a real shot at having lasting relationships. Because until you know who you are, you're not going to be dating intentionally. You're going to put up with all sorts of things in relationships and unfortunately invest in the wrong people. But if you know who you are and you've taken the time to learn yourself and get to know yourself in those multiple areas of life and consider what lights you up and what makes you feel like the best version of you and what actually supports you, the stronger you are from the inside out, the better you will choose your partners because you're clear on who you are and what you want. You won't settle. You won't invest in people who are going to just only give you breadcrumbs because you're going to find like, wait, I have a full meal here. Why would I settle with breadcrumbs for somebody else? You'll be willing to uphold your standards, to wait for the right people to invest in and to wait to properly vet to see as you're dating somebody how they're showing up and to monitor what they have to give and to make sure that relationships are reciprocal. So it's a really important lesson for dating, for relationship success, for the short run, for the long run, for everything. And again, if you want to go deeper on that concept of needs, you can check out that free course all about needs down below. And that actually gives you access to the whole personal development school for a limited time if you want to check that out too. And I hope this all makes sense to you. I hope this is helpful. It's such an important way to get out of this ongoing cycle of chasing after breadcrumbs and chasing after people who are not ready to give you what you were looking for. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe if you did, and I can't wait to see you in future videos.